I never wanted to be in oil and gas, Anand.
Now you're here.
Never wanted to be in energy, so to speak. But when I took the role, the thing that worried me the most about entering the energy industry as a whole was the fact that I would be a woman in industry.
Where this industry is going towards and what are the challenges and opportunities?
There's a realistic future ahead, and that realistic future is that oil and gas still has a role to play. And to think that we can just turn oil and gas off like we do our lights every day.
This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry. Hello, everyone. I hope you are happy and healthy. I'm Anand Jha, and you are listening to the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. Today, I'm happy and excited because you will be joined by Amanda Duhon, VP and Regional Director at the Energy Industries Council. With her deep roots in public policy and energy, she bridges business innovation across oil and gas and beyond. Known for her leadership in commercial diplomacy and women in energy, she knows how this industry is evolving and who's shaping its future. Amanda, I'm very happy to have you here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Anand. I look forward to speaking today.
Amanda, we met before and I could see you could bring a lot of good insights about this industry. So I'm looking forward to a discussion. And especially when I was looking into your profile that goes from working with the legal firms to working with the government. So it's a very diverse background. So a lot to learn. So I don't want to lose any other minute. The stage is yours. Please walk us through the highlight of your career and also any of the biases and stereotype that you might have came across.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I was in the legal field for about 10 years, and the vast majority of my work was around policy. I guess quite surprised when somehow I ended up within the energy space. And it was whilst I was doing my master's degree, and I had decided I really wasn't quite sure I needed to go to law school to do policy. And there was a great opportunity with the British government here in Houston at the British Consulate General Houston. At the time, it was with the Economic Development Arm of British government, UK Trade and Investment, now known as the UK Department for, I believe, Business and Trade now. The name has changed a few times. And having come from a family of oil and gas good old boys, I never wanted to be in oil and gas, Anand.
Now you're here.
Never wanted to be in energy, so to speak. But when I took the role at the British Consulate, I took a role as a business development associate dealing specifically with renewable energy, and I fell in love. I thought wind turbines were the coolest thing ever, learned so much from working with the supply chain. And then I switched gears and went and worked for another English-speaking government, which was the Queensland, Australia government. So I opened up their North American office with a few other folks and developed the business plan and looked at the Queensland energy supply chain and opportunities and the North American market and so forth, and just so happened to start covering oil and gas at the time. And that really led me to where I am now. So I'm with the Energy Industries Council. We're a UK headquartered global membership organization representing about 950 supply chain companies around the world, providing goods and services to both the CapEx and OpEx side of upstream, midstream, downstream, oil and gas, power, nuclear, renewables, energy transition, and yes, powering data centers. And I've been doing this now, about to have my 11th anniversary with the EIC, but it's been a very interesting journey for me, having never thought I would be in the energy space to now speaking at global conferences and giving updates on market trends and working across industry and government and academia. It's been very exciting. Now, you asked me about some biases.
Yes, yes. Anything that comes up in your mind.
Yeah, so excuse me. I think all of us, it's somewhat universally innate that we have some unconscious biases. And I think the thing that worried me the most about entering the energy industry as a whole was the fact that I would be a woman in industry. And, I think about oil and gas, and I would think about men in oil and gas, whether they were working out on the rigs or sea level in suits, it was a man's industry. And so I really worried about the bias of women in this sector and how that would impact me. I hear a lot of different stories from all the women that I've worked with in this industry over the last almost 20 years, and I've actually been quite privileged in the fact that I have had many great mentors, colleagues, and coaches, both male and female, during my journey within this industry that have supported me, who've challenged me and helped me grow. Coming from a policy background, not an
Yeah.
engineer, and now being recognized as a woman in the global energy space, I don't think I could have done it without those people. At the end of the day, I think that there are some biases that are still there and many challenges for women in the industry space. But indeed, I've been honored and privileged to have the support I have had along the way.
That's really great. Like you have highlighted few things. That bias, I think, is still there. Like when you talk about that gender bias, is still there, and we
Mhm.
need to overcome. And I think we are making a good transition. But at the same time, you also talk about the importance of the network and the mentorship.
Yes.
That's how they help you and shape. And that's why I want our listeners to understand that this mentorship and the coaching is very important to grow in your career, wherever you are.
Indeed. I think also as you grow within your career, ensuring that you're giving back by coaching and mentoring, because I have to say, as an executive, I constantly learn so much from those that I'm mentoring,
Yes.
that it really goes both ways.
Yeah, makes sense. And you also talk about changing your career multiple times. Like how was it? How was your experience taking your skills from policy to energy? And so, can you please talk about that?
I mean, when I mentioned starting energy by working at the British consulate in Houston whilst working on my master's degree. And in fact, I was able to take it as course credit. And I wrote a paper called 30 something year old intern because I actually got within the consulate setting by taking on an internship.
Mhm.
And unconscious bias, coming back to that, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm a 30 something doing an internship. I have all of this experience. I'm quite high level in my firm. And finding that I had my own unconscious bias and that, oh, well, I am of a certain age and I'm reporting to someone who's
Yes.
much younger than I am. I was like, oh, wow. Um, so, there are some challenges, I guess, to changing career paths, but at the same time, I remember my first boss in energy. I may have been much older than her, but she knew so much more than I did from an energy perspective, from a public service perspective. And I think that we ended up teaching each other a lot because I was able to marry the policy background to the energy space because really at the end of the day, they are interconnected. Geopolitics, policy and regulation have so much to do with what happens with energy projects and pushing forward initiatives to ensure safe, reliable, secure energy mixes. And so I feel like I've been quite fortunate to be able to marry that expertise brought in and grow that within a new career. And I am able to bring a different perspective
Yeah.
than, let's say, my colleague who is an engineer in this industry, counterpart I have who leads one of our other offices, or um, our very own CEO, an engineer who's worked in all the energy spaces, a businessman, and so forth, coming into the not for profit world. It really is our differences, our backgrounds, and our experiences that are able to complement each other, which I really believe is needed for success in any organization.
I fully agree. And you said like you built on the skills that you have brought. And another thing you have highlighted the perspective. We need a multidimensional perspective. Otherwise, it's just a one-dimensional thought process, and that's why
Uh-huh.
you need people from different background and different industry, like how you
Yes.
came from the policy making and how you are able to connect with the energy challenges and opportunities. That also
Uh-huh.
brings us to our next question, actually. When you talk about the opportunity and challenges, this industry has evolved a lot in recent years, and
Yes.
you follow this industry very closely. So, where this industry is going towards, and what are the challenges and opportunity for someone who wants to make a big in this industry as a career or as a business, or maybe in different forms, shape, and sizes?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, first I want to say that, the energy industry or energy as a whole, I mean, from the time man discovered how to make fire to where we are today, has always been in a transition, has always been transforming. And, as an industry, we've seen our ups and downs, but there's a realistic future ahead. And that realistic future is that oil and gas still has a role to play. And to think that we can just turn oil and gas off like we do our lights every day and just go to renewable energy, for example, is just not a rational thought process. So, we're in a really great place as an industry in that we have um, gas that really is a transition fuel that really can provide the secure and affordable energy that we need in Western society. But there's also other communities in the world that are still in their development phases that need the opportunity to have access to traditional energy sources. And as we move forward in this new era, I guess, we have the opportunity to utilize oil and gas to get us to the next phase and where it is that we're going. And we have the opportunity to do it in a responsible and innovative way. And I think that we can see everyone in industry is ready to push forward in sustainable, innovative ways.
Just few years ago, Amanda, like everybody was moving towards renewable, like solar, wind, and all those things, and we have
Yes.
realized we cannot pick energy resources just like that. Um,
No. And I mean, I think, when the pandemic hit, we saw everyone talking about hydrogen as the next
yes,
thing.
I remember that.
In the US, we're really looking forward to having an offshore wind sector finally come to fruition. But I mean, we know that geopolitics and the world moving as fast as it is and as uncertain that it is, that we really need to get down to what makes sense.
Yes.
And I think what we're seeing is after this time of chasing the next posh energy subsector, that industry as a whole has taken a step back and said, where does it make sense for us to focus our time? Where does it make sense for us to focus our investment? What is actually bankable and
Yes.
movable? Whilst at the same time looking at, what does the future look like as well? So I think it's taking a step back and walking before running.
Before running,
And
yes.
that's exactly where we need to be. From an EIC perspective, we um, are currently right now, the pendulum is still somewhat 50-50. It's traditional oil and gas, conventional power. Um, and we're still seeing renewables and energy transition. And that really depends on where you are in the world or what
Yes.
types of projects that are happening. If we talk about the US and we talk about oil and gas, we are seeing some exploration. We're seeing some final investment decisions that have taken place. For example, LNG, we had seven FIDs reached just last year. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing a lot of investment in the downstream space and industry looking at, listen, if we're going to be building new power stations and so forth, we're going to have to invest in our midstream sectors. So the US oil and gas midstream sector is the one that we see the most capex. We're still seeing on a state level investment in renewables, for example. We still see strong interest in the hydrogen sector. But of course, when it comes to hydrogen or other technologies such as CCUS, we've got to make sure that they're bankable, and we need to make sure that you have government support as well as a supply chain that's ready to meet those needs. And we're still seeing supply chain bottlenecks that still need to be addressed. So, finally, I just want to mention getting the messaging right. And this is from industry all across the sectors. And that is that oil and gas is here to stay for the near term. And we need oil and gas to get us where we need to be, whether it's powering our homes, whether it's ensuring that we have, the medical supplies that we need from a downstream perspective.
This industry is not going anywhere, like I will say, because
No, this
every few
industry,
decades, yes.
yes, yes, it's not going anywhere for the time being. And this is even in a post 2050 world. And
Yes, I agree.
however, moving forward, I think the way that the oil and gas sector works is going to be very different in what they are focusing on, whether it's the markets that they're exploring. Does that make sense? How do we do that in the most lean way, sustainable,
Yes.
and socially responsible way? And yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Like, so from technology to sustainability and the carbon neutrality, I think it's not going
yes,
anywhere. I think that they all
no,
have to live together. They all have to live together to make it big. Just
yes.
just a follow up question on that one. Like again, when you see this industry, what kind of a skill you see that might help someone to make big in this industry? Like, if to underline one skill.
One skill,
Yeah.
I think oh, man, it's being open to
Hmm.
new ideas,
Okay.
new ways of doing things, whether it's operational, whether it's through technology. And I think it's being open to the generation coming into this sector
Hmm.
and kind of breaking down those biases that oil and gas is bad, and changing our messaging and actually getting a new generation in as we deal with this great shift change that we're going through, to understand, come and be part of the way that we're transforming, come be a part of the future of the oil and gas industry, because they do have a lot to share. And I don't think they realize the opportunities that are here. So I think it's kind of breaking those biases.
Makes sense. So it could be any skill which is acceptable in this industry. Like that's
Any
perfect
skill.
example. That's a perfect example. You talked about your journey. Like you started somewhere,
Mhm.
you reached somewhere. So I think instead of underlining one skill, I would say is a multi-skill industry. It doesn't matter you are a computer engineer or geologist or electrical engineer. You all have opportunity in this industry to make it
Exactly.
big.
Exactly. I mean, we're seeing everything around data centers and AI. We need these young, innovative minds to come in and teach
Yes,
us, you know,
I
um,
know. Like
the
things
worlds
are
of
moving so
AI,
fast.
for example,
Yes.
because these things are changing. We are seeing AI in continued automation and everything that it is that we do in our daily lives. And the new generation is coming in having lived that. No, I don't know about you, but I remember dialing into AOL.
Like we came so far from those days.
Yes,
But the
yes,
technology is evolving so fast. And in the past, I have read somewhere it used to be around 10-year cycle for any new innovation. Then it reduced to maybe some years, and then months. And now I will say is every week. Every week we hear something new. So things are
indeed,
changing so fast.
indeed.
That also brings us to our rapid fire round. Amanda, if you're ready, I can
Okay.
go through some of the quick questions and let's see how can you handle those rapid fire questions. See.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, let me start. Let me start with with your journey. First job ever. What was it?
My first job ever
Yes.
was at Dairy Queen at 16 years old. And it taught me how to be agile and wear many different hats at one time, whether it was flipping a hamburger, making an ice cream cone, or checking someone out through the drive-through window.
Interesting journey. What's one energy buzzword you secretly wish should disappear?
Buzzword? I think energy transition.
Yeah, I think is an overused word.
Yes. I think it's energy transition.
Yes, yeah, I fully agree. Like I didn't think about it, but when you just said energy transition, I think that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
because it's not just a one thing where you have to transition. Like it's a journey that continues for many years to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think
No.
it's continuously transforming.
Yes, transforming.
Yes.
Definitely, it's not a transition; it's a transformation. I think that's a good way to put it. Next one, renewable oil and gas or both. What's the future?
Both.
Both. Yeah. So you
All of the
cannot.
above.
All of the above. And like you cannot live without one or another. You know, we have seen many
No.
examples.
No.
Make sense? A leader you admire in the energy world and why?
I wanna say my CEO. I don't if he listens to this, I don't want people to think I'm sucking up.
But it can be true. Like if you admire him, yeah.
I do. I do. I
Uh,
admire him, and let me tell you why. I was
What's
in the
his
legal
name actually?
it's
What's his name?
Stuart Broadley, and he's based in the UK. Because I've learned a lot from him. And I think this kind of goes back to my journey having come from the private sector, the legal sector, which is very cutthroat, and then going into public service, which is very different. And then the nonprofit world. And Stuart came in as our CEO back in 2016, and he's been my boss since 2019, I think. And he's just kind of married industry, business, nonprofit, government, and he does it so well. And I've learned so much from him, and I continue to learn a lot from him. One, but then the second one is going to be every single woman in industry from the bottom up who's out there and breaking biases
Every
and
day. Yes.
doing great things. And there's
No, makes
so
sense.
many of them. I could not name just one. Yeah.
I fully understand. That's really great. One thing people misunderstand about public policy in energy.
That they could be separated.
So I think we talked about so it cannot be separated. You know, like they all have to work together.
They all have to work together. And I would add to that every single aspect of the value chain of industry has to work together with government because I think far too often the supply chain is not invited to the table when it comes to policy innovation.
Yes, yeah, no, makes sense. Is a whole value chain. I think need to come together and come to the discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, your go-to productivity hack on a hectic day.
My go to what?
Productivity hack on a hectic day.
Oh my gosh. This is embarrassing, but I am a total nerd I have played video games since we had a Commodore 64 computer way back in the day.
Okay.
And so I guess this is the political scientist in me, but I have a Kingdom War game that I play on my phone. So if I need to take a step back and refresh, and then come back to my computer or a presentation I'm working on, or I'm about to have a meeting and I need to cut off from the previous meeting, I will go and I will open up my phone to my Ebony, the King's Return game, and I will work on my kingdom. And yes, it's organized and I have many women generals and yes,
That's excellent. Okay. Last not the least, what's one non-energy passion that keeps you grounded?
writing,
Okay.
creative writing. Um, and it is all about processing conversations I have with my girlfriends or conversations I have with my children and putting them into pictures through words.
That's excellent. That's excellent ways to put everything together. You did really good, Amanda. Like, and we came to know more about you from this rapid fire round. Some secrets. That's really great. No, thank you so much. Just moving on. Like we have discussed about many things about the policies, the industry, the challenges, opportunities, how the skills are transferred. But if you have to take one key takeaway from this conversation for our listeners, what will be one key takeaway for them? They can go with it. Or I will say the one key takeaway they can keep with them forever.
I think it's coming back to, the one word in the energy industry we want to get rid of. And I mentioned energy transition,
Yes.
and kind of replacing that with transformation. I think that there's a lot of opportunity ahead for the energy industry and some potential significant barriers to overcome. And it is going to take a lot of collaboration and a lot of talking with each other and learning from each other
Yes.
moving forward. We've heard a lot of talk about collaboration in this industry over the last couple of years, but I think we're finally seeing it happen and we need to continue doing that and more of it.
No, I think this continuous collaboration is the key of success. And I think
Yes.
that should not stop because, as we said, this industry is not going to die soon. It will be there many more decades to come. So this open conversation, different perspective, diverse perspective is needed to continue to make success in this industry and take this industry to the next stage. It's not a transition; it's a transformation.
Indeed.
That's we have to keep in mind. I have a one follow-up question on that one. Like we also spoke about multiple biases, about gender biases and how people look into this industry. But if you have to underline one of the bias and how can we come over that bias, what will be your take on this one?
Yeah, I think it's understanding first that a lot of bias is unconscious. Okay. And I think it's understanding that if we're aware of this, that we can connect our actions to that by improving everything that it is that we do to build a more inclusive, um, high performing team, whether you're a leader, whether we're talking about industry as a whole. And I think it's greater connection and curiosity that will allow leaders like myself and my colleagues to be inclusive in our leadership and use that as a performance strategy, not just as something that's a moral imperative. I think organizations within the energy industry that actively address bias benefit from stronger collaboration, better decision making, and at the end of the day, better innovation.
Yeah.
And if we're going to transform, we need to innovate. So let's be better equipped as an industry to unlock our full potential that's ahead.
Makes sense. I think that's also bring how the leadership should be inclusive. And we already talked about the collaboration, So if you are
Yeah.
inclusive and collaborative, I think success will come sooner than later.
Yeah.
But that's great. No, thank you so much for sharing all the insights and also lots of things that we learned about you. But before I will sign off, anything to add here, Amanda?
No, just thank you so much for inviting me to join you on your podcast. I'm honored. Yeah, that's
Well,
it.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for taking your time. With that, I will sign off today. Keep listening, Oil and Gas Breaking by Show. See you next week.